Hi, my name is and I work at the Sophie School Business Development Center. I'm a project manager there, and today I'm going to tell you a bit more about financial literacy and how to better manage your finances. So today we're going to start off with planning and how to budget appropriately. Then we're going to talk a little bit about interest, debt, and credit and how it affects you. And we're also going to talk about tips for saving and tools and resources that you can use. So first up is building your plan. It's the first step to better managing your money, and you want to be able to know where you're going in the future. So it's all about goal setting, making sure that you have an appropriate plan so that you can move forward. It's also about understanding your needs versus your wants. So we all kind of view these differently. A need would be clothing, water, nutrition, those kinds of things. But some people will start to think of needs as more expensive things than they have to be. So you need clothes, so you could go to Value Village, but some people choose to go to Ralph Lauren, for example, and that's not appropriate. So it's about managing kind of those needs and wants. So we've put together a little bit of a recipe for success for you to kind of go along with. So your housing should be 35% of your income. And that would be your mortgage payment, your rent, your insurance, your property taxes, anything that kind of goes into that. And if you're not spending that, it can vary up and down depending on where you're living. But anything that's up that doesn't reach up to that 35% should go directly into your savings. The next category is car, so that should be 20% of your income. If you're not paying 20% or you don't have a car, again, it should go into your savings. And savings and debt should be a 20%, so your savings plus your debt should both equal 20% of your pay. Your food, which includes your groceries, your eating out, and your alcohol, that amounts to about 15% of your spending. So, and your leisure, of course, we all need to have a good time, so your entertainment, your clothing, all that kind of stuff is about 10% of your income. So that should give you a pretty good idea of where your money should be going, and it varies, of course, depending on certain things, but you should never vary your savings and your debt kind of block there, because that's what's really going to help you succeed. Next part of planning is the budgeting portion. So what is budgeting? It's essentially coming up with a plan based on what your income is now and what you're spending, so that you can maybe minimize some of those expenses and start saving more money. So it's important to realize your fixed and your variable expenses. So your fixed expenses are those things that you have to pay every month. So you know that your rent's going to come out, and you know that your electricity bill is going to come out. So those are your fixed expenses. They don't change. Your variable expenses are those things that you can kind of move up and down. So I might spend less on clothes this month, or I might spend less on, if you're on a pay-as-you-go plan for cell phone. That might affect your variable expenses, those kinds of things. And it's important, most importantly, to be honest in your budget. So your first budget that you create should be as honest as you can be. How much are you making? How much are you spending on average every month? And really knowing what you're spending now so that you can reduce it in the future. You can always make a second budget with kind of a wish list, but your first one should be super honest. So where do you start? You start by putting in your revenue, so that's money you're getting in. So that could be maybe working, maybe it's money from your own adventure, your own enterprise, maybe you babysit part-time. All that is revenue, so you put that in your budget. Then you look at your fixed expenses. So what do I know for sure that's going to come out of my account that has to be paid? And then, of course, you look at your variable expenses, because those are the things that change from month to month. And after you've put them in, then you plan for the unexpected. You put a little bit extra in your budget, so for those things that you don't really anticipate, like maybe you got stuck somewhere and you had to pay for a cab home. That's unexpected, right? So putting a little extra money into that, and always putting a line in for your savings. That's always really important. Making sure that it's in your budget so that you know that you'll be spending that. I've included a sample kind of budget up on the screen that you can have a look at. We're also going to send you a template so that you can build your own budget. It's got all the formulas and everything like that in there, so that it'll be super easy for you to build your budget. Next step that I wanted to talk about is a little bit about interest. So interest can work for you and against you depending on what it's coming from, but it can be a big cause of money troubles and can cause you to get into a lot of debt. There's two different types of interest. There is simple interest and compound interest, and I've showed you an example here. So simple interest is when you put an amount into a bank account, and let's say it earns $5 or 5% interest, which would be $5 of that $100 that you would put in, and it just every month it gets tacked on another 5%, so it add another $5. But when your interest is compounded, what that means is it goes up exponentially. So the first month would be you put in the $100 and then it earns $5. But the next month it would earn the 105 plus interest. So it's kind of going up exponentially, and you can kind of see in the graphs. So you can have that work for you, or you can have that work against you. So if you, for instance, if you put it into a saving account that's compounded monthly, then that would work for you. But I have an example here about a credit card where it works against you. So if you max out a credit card with a $2,000 limit, you're looking at about 22 years paying it back if you were to make minimum payments. And normally credit cards are around 20% interest, which is huge. This one that I have an example is actually a low kind of interest rate on a credit card, but it would almost cost you about $5,000 in interest alone. And that's not including the $2,000 that you've spent on the item. So it's super, can work against you. So next kind of point leading into coming from that credit card example is going into credit and debt. So there's a lot of different types of credit and debt that can affect you. There's credit cards, bank loans, lines of credit, overdraft loans, high cost loans, student loans, which is a huge one for us in our age group. But it's important to know good and bad debt as well. So there's good types of debt, which is like getting a mortgage, because you're getting a house out of it. There's good, but there's also those bad types of debt where maybe you took out a loan, but you don't actually need it, or there's ways around it where you're paying interest, but you don't necessarily aren't getting the value out of it. So student loans could be considered a good form of debt and a bad form of debt. I would consider them good because you're getting a great education out of it, but you don't really have that tangible item to show for it afterwards. So it's important to be really responsible with your debt and your credit, and understanding that that can really harm your credit score, and that although you'll be getting what you want now, it might not help you later on. So next step is tips for saving, and you should be saving should be a top priority for you. So here's kind of a rundown of what you should be doing. There's tons of tips, but this is kind of my basic set. So paying yourself first. That just means when you get paid, you automatically take out that savings or whatever you need to take out first. And then you start paying everything else off. So it's kind of like you didn't even have it in the first place, which is part of our next point, is making savings automatic. So you can actually talk to your bank and get your savings set up so that $50 comes out of your account every paycheck. And then you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it. Also, not carrying cash on you is a huge tip. So don't keep it in your pocket, because most people, when they have it on them, they tend to spend it. It burns a hole in your pocket. It definitely does for me too. So I don't carry it anymore. But if you do, save your change. Some people don't like change and just get rid of it for some reason, but if you save it, you could definitely go far with it. I've been able to go on trips because of change that I saved. My dad has been able to buy cars with the change he's saved. So why not, right? Save your change. Don't spend your savings, which is probably the biggest one on this list, and something that people break all the time. People dip into that change jar, or they find something that they want and then they dip into their savings to buy it. But your savings is there so that you can plan for the unexpected, or you're saving towards something. And there's a reason you're doing it, right? So try not to dip into it. And never ever make minimum payments on your credit card. So if you do have a credit card and you're using it, never just make what they tell you is the minimum payment. Pay it all off when the bill is due. Like I said in the credit card example that I gave you before, it could take you a long time to pay it off, and you'll be paying money, so much money for it in interest. Live within your means is a huge one, so don't spend more than you're taking in. If you're using a credit card, make sure that you have that money in your bank account or that it's coming in shortly, and not spending outside of your own boundaries. And lastly, set attainable goals. So make sure that it's something that you can reach with the amount of money that you have coming in, and that it's realistic for you, that you can put away that amount of money. Don't say you're going to save $1 million if you're not going to make $1 million. And so here I have on the screen some tools and resources for you. I, for instance, use mint.com, which is a budgeting tool. So it hooks directly to your bank account, and as you're spending, it kind of calculates what categories that store or that spending should go into, and it makes your budget kind of for you. So you can set limits that you want to spend. It'll send you notifications when you're coming close to that limit. It'll also, you can customize the category, so it knows if you spend at this store, it'll automatically go into your bank account, those types of things. I've also included a budgeting template just in case you don't want to link your bank account to a budgeting system, just to let you know that Mint is safe. It's not going to send your banking information anywhere else. But if you still don't want to do that, then I've attached the budgeting template with all of the formulas already in, so you can have a look at that and fill it out as you wish, add new categories, that kind of thing. I've also included a goal setting sheet because it's important to have goals about your spending and what you want to accomplish. And also I recommend that you talk to your bank because they can oftentimes lower your fees, lower your interest rates, help you finding a plan that's best for you, and I really suggest you do that. Don't be afraid if you're having trouble with your money to speak to somebody, and I think that's something that a lot of people have trouble with. And speaking of to somebody, you can always call me. So there's my information, and you can shoot me an email and let's talk money. Thanks for hanging out. Next week, back to business basics with students in business.